You ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and it is an honor to introduce you to one of my heroes and true leaders in the marketing industry, Jay Abraham.
Jay Abraham, a marketing legend, mentor to mentors, and the highest paid marketing consultant in the world.
He's the go-to guy now. And I gotta say, if you think of most of the marketing consultants that you probably don't have the name of, they've all been influenced by Jay.
I probably wouldn't be here without my mentor, Jay Abraham. Through, his teachings and what he's done for me, he's taught me how to position myself in very unique positions, what is my unique offering, as well as the ability to communicate.
Jay Abraham has significantly increased the bottom line of over 10,000 clients and over 400 industries worldwide.
Jay has had a tremendous influence on my business. Not just my business, but really the deep ways in which I think about my students, my readers, my clients, my customers.
His books have profoundly influenced my ability to grow Bulletproof, and his personal mentorship and his one-on-one sessions with me have absolutely changed the game for me and for Bulletproof and for our mission to change the world.
Forbes magazine called him the real thing and lists Jay as one of the top 5 executive coaches in the country. He's also a best-selling author and has been featured in USA Today, the New York Times, Inc., and Success, among many others.
Life is a series of mentors, and Jay Abraham is absolutely the best in that area.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Jay Abraham. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sheila. Good seeing you again, or hearing you, depending on what form people are experiencing this. But yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yes, and I'd like to start off with asking you if you have a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation you had to overcome and how you got back on track.
I wish I had only one. I could go through some of them. When I first, I'll start. I got married the first time at a courthouse, and on the way home, my then wife and I were in the middle of a 3-car accident, and we got towed in our demolished car to my parents, where we spent our honeymoon. That wasn't very good. Then we saved enough, and when we had our first apartment, the day we moved in, I got fired from my job, and I was taking the bus, and I took 3 buses to get home, and I waited till the very last at midnight because I was too ashamed, and I had to basically I put every penny we had into that apartment. One time, not long afterwards, I'd left our car unlocked, and they stole our baby seat, and I couldn't afford a new one for a pay period. That was pretty bad. I had a job with a company I moved to Dallas for, and right after I bought a house, they went broke and owed me $10,000 on my credit card I couldn't pay, and they took my credit cards away. You want to hear more? Let's see. I had a client that was paying me $2 million right when, back in the late 70s, when gold first was introduced, and it was up to 800, and it dropped overnight, and they almost went broke, and they terminated me the week I moved into my new house and put everything in that, and I was making $2 million, and then I was making nothing. Let's see. I had a divorce that was supposed to cost about $300,000 and cost about $4 million, I got involved in a custody suit I was supposed to win, and instead I lost most of the custody and had to pay an extra $2,000 a month. You want to hear more? Let's see. I had a business partner that cost me 20 some $1 million. I could go on, but the point is, we all have setbacks relative and relevant to our lives. It's just, what are your choices? I mean, the world doesn't care whether you're down for the count or whether you bounce back and with a gusto and zeal and take on the world and the challenges more passionately and purposely. And I don't think you have a choice. I think if you give up, it's pretty sad. If you don't give up, then you just you learn from whatever happened and you make the most of it, and it doesn't destroy you. And I mean, what are the choices? We all have, relative to our lives, lots of setbacks. Some are very heartbreaking. Some are very, very, very poignant, very sad. And but I mean, you can't go backward. You can only, they said you can't rewind, but you can reset. So you have to say, okay, what happened was unfair. It was tragic, heartbreaking, whether it's personal, financial, physically. But I mean, wherever you are, you have to play the ball where it lies, don't you?
Right. That's so important. And this last 13 or 14 months with our COVID lockdowns and this whole new experience, I think it's even more important we start to remember what matters most.
I agree.
Yes.
It brings a new definition to relevancy, and you realize that things probably aren't going to really be that important in the scope of forever, and health and relationships and being happy with less materialistic things probably are more important, but it depends on who you are. But I think this has been a very galvanizing and cathartic period for a lot of people. It's been hard, been very unfair to a lot of very good people, deserving, worthy people who should not have been adversely hurt the way they have. One of my sons is in the restaurant business, and that business and service has been devastated. Small entrepreneurs have been devastated. But unfortunately that happened. But fortunately, we have in the human condition the ability to bounce back, and we have the ability to circumvent or at least embrace our circumstances and find opportunity in adversity and possibility and problems and joy in sadness. We have to, because if we don't, then it's just, I mean, why would we want to? I don't think we want to succumb to events that occur in our lives. I think we want to either a victim or a victor, and there's lots of things that happen, Sheila, that we have no control over. COVID is certainly a screaming example, but whatever has happened, you've got to make the most of it, because you realize, I think when things happen, you realize how delicate, tentative, and infinitesimal we are in the scope of the world, forever, the universe, and you get very humbled, but you also get inspired. I think we become aware of everything: trees, lives, relationships, all kinds of things.
Yes, and you are the marketing expert. So I believe that even if you're a person listening in that doesn't have a business, we're all marketing in one aspect or another all the time. We even market to our children, really, to convince them to do their homework in a way. And so I'd love to hear some marketing advice for those listeners maybe that are rebooting their business or careers this year.
Well, I mean, there's everybody out there, because of COVID, with very few exceptions. There's some big winners, a lot of the online e-commerce companies, and obviously the Netflixes of the world. But most other companies are struggling to get back to where they were, They are always looking right now for ways to find opportunity. When it first started, I was interviewed a lot, Sheila, about windows of opportunity that people could capitalize on. And I think some of them are still available. First one is that there has never been a time, it's a little less now, when companies were willing to collaborate, partner, joint venture, because everyone is looking for additional revenue, income, and profit. So if you're not a business owner, but you have an interest in ancillary, supplementary, additional avocational income, you can find all kinds of businesses that would love to have other additions to their revenue. And if you can bring to them partnerships, and the partnerships I'm talking about is you step back and say, who else would benefit from the audience that a company has? So I'll give you an example. In the middle of the worst time in COVID, when some of the higher end restaurants couldn't even really practically do carry out, and the owners were just devastated, I had some people come to me and say, what can I do to help restaurants? And I said, well, if you think about it, a high-end restaurant normally has a very affluent clientele. The whoever's in the front of the restaurant can be the owner, the chef, has a very bonded relationship with those clients. If they have a database, whether it's email, whether it's phone numbers, whether it's anything, you could go to those restaurateurs and make collaborations available. For example, let's say you worked out a deal with a luxury car company to make preferential offers to their audience and give the restaurant a commission or a fee for anybody that buys, or a jewelry store, or any of a number of things, and people would structure those kind of arrangements. There's a lot of businesses out there that are frankly against the ropes. They're in trouble and they've been just getting by, and they're probably in very dire condition. You can get control of those kind of businesses usually for no investment. And if you had 2 or 3 of them and you consolidated, or if you have a business and you can bring another business into it, and your existing fixed overhead can absorb it, meaning you have billing, you have collection, you have customer service, whatever it is, you can take a losing or a break-even business, and by absorbing it in yours, you could make a lot of money from it because you eliminate most of the fixed overhead. If you're not a business owner, you can go to any business independent and suggest they do that and offer to do it with them, for them, and either get a fee for doing it, get a percentage of the profit it produces. I mean, there's lots of really cool things. There's tons of people out there who are salespeople who have been, now they're coming back now, but they were diminished during COVID because they couldn't sell what they were selling. And I had people contacting them and getting them to work for their businesses strictly on commission, setting up deals for them. And there's lots of things you can do. We had a program we created many years ago called Master of Passive Income. And it taught 10 different, I don't do it anymore. We had taught 10 different profit pathways that an individual that wasn't a business owner could take advantage of. They could go to businesses, they could identify elements in that business that they could access for that business. And by just setting that up and doing it once, they could get paid over and over and over again for the revenue that would flow from that activity that they set up for the rest, or for the company. There's all kinds of things you can do. We have another, there's a concept I created years ago. It's a form of what I call options trading, but it's not the kind of options you would think of. It's options on assets or access. And I'll tell you a good example. Many years ago, a friend of mine moved to California from the East Coast, and he was an entrepreneur, but he didn't have a business, and he was looking to use what I'm about to discuss with you, and he found that the Rose Bowl, the big stadium that they play the Rose Bowl and that UCLA University plays their football games in, was not being used at that time 85-90% of the time on weekends outside of the football season. And he went to the county that owned it and got the rights to use it in the off time, on the off weekends, as a flea market. And he got a long-term option to do it. He would have to only pay them a share of the revenue, and he had the rights in his agreement to bring in a partner. He didn't know anything about flea market, but with that contract in hand, he was able to go to the largest flea market management company. He got an advance payment of about $500,000 and an override on what they made. They paid the county. He made about $1 million a year just because he had the asset, which was the access to that property. So there's all kinds of things like that you can do if you understand it. And it's really exciting, and it's still true today. And when everybody is in search of more income, profit, revenue, anybody who can help provide it in a meaningful way can maybe not name their own deal, but they can set up deals and say, hey, I'll do this for you. Once it's said, I just want a share of the revenue it brings in forever or for a period of time. And you could do 10 of those, 20 of those. You can do them in your backyard. You can do them one industry. You can do them anywhere in the country or the world. It's pretty true around the world. And we've done those kind of things for people all over. There's a couple of ideas.
Definitely. I raised my family very close to the Rose Bowl. That's where I raised my family. And so I remember when those markets showed up, and then they had after school sports started going there as well. And so it was just a beautiful thing because it served everyone. It served the community, the Rose Bowl, your friend that got involved and connected that deal. Everyone really was better off for that. And one of my questions I have, Jay, is how do you start maybe knocking on those doors, connecting with those businesses, making the calls?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is to realize that anything you do that you're not putting yourself in financial or life jeopardy, the downside is very low. It's just time and opportunity costs. So first thing is you shouldn't be fearful or afraid of trying things. Then depends on who you are and your knowledge base. If you don't have a lot of skill or knowledge, you obviously want to start small, safely, and where you'll be the most negotiable, which is to other smaller businesses. But you got to try things. I mean, it's in this session, it's probably a little inadequate to give you a whole full-blown education. But depending on the kind of business, that businesses are going to have assets that you can help them monetize better. They might have active buyers that are only buying a few things from them, but have the ability and the need to buy other related things. And if you can make deals with people that sell those related things and make those deals available to the companies that have the buyers, you can be right in the middle. We call that being in the toll position. People have inactive buyers that if you can figure how to either get them to buy again or get them to buy something else, then you're bringing revenue for a sunk cost dormant asset. People have prospects that don't buy. People have products they only sell in one way. If you get them to sell through other people and do the opposite of what I'm saying, you can get a piece of both sides. A piece of the revenue you bring into the company that provides the product, a piece of the revenue you create for the company that sells the product. You can use the sales force to sell the products for people. You can put products on their website. If they have an email list, you can get them to, do a special offer. There's just a myriad of things you can do that don't cost anything. We used to many times find companies that were sitting with products, services, or capacity that wasn't being utilized. People had too much material inventory in a warehouse that wasn't being sold. If you could figure a way to sell it anywhere, they would be thrilled. People that had underutilized capacity. One time I did a deal with a acupuncturist who had underutilized capacity. We packaged all kinds of certificates. We sold to beauty service companies to gift to their clients high discount. So they paid very little for the coupons, the certificates, but they were worth a lot. And we did that because the the acupuncturist knew that every time he got two new first-time users, one of them would come back 3 or 4 times and pay the $100 an hour. And we did that, and it was very, very successful. You can do things like that all day long with people and negotiate percentages of, if you sell the coupons or the certificates, percentages of the revenue that emerges from it. I mean, if it's a professional that can't give you shares because it's professionally illegal, you can still find ethical ways to get compensated. There's just a multitude of things people can do.
I'd love for you to share about the Icy Hot Sports Cream Medicine and how you were able to market that and really bring it to market with a very low marketing cost.
Yeah, and it's the product today that everybody knows, Icy Hot, but back then it was a mail order product. We sold it by mail, and we went to 1,000 radio stations, television stations, magazines, newspapers, and we made arrangements that anytime they had unsold advertising capacity, if they would run ads for us and sell our product, which at that time sold for $3 a jar, we would let them keep all the money. And we basically knew that every time we got 10 new buyers, 8 of them would buy every month forever. So we had a very little cost to send it out. We would absorb the little cost because it was a lot less expensive than wasting it on advertising that we paid for that may or may not have worked. And we built about 500,000 buyers in about a year and 3 months. And we got about, by today's standards, $150 million of no-cost advertising. And the product became so popular and in demand that it moved from a mail order. Everybody started going to their grocers and their pharmacies and asking for it, and everyone started calling us and buying the product to stock in their stores, and it became a consumer product that was sold in the stores. And back today, a retail product isn't as valuable as an e-commerce product, but back then, a retail product was far more valuable than a mail order product, and we were able to sell the company for tens of millions of dollars in a matter of about 2 years, and we only paid 20 grand for the business to start off. So I mean, there's all kinds of cool things you can do, whether you are a businessman or woman yourself, whether you are a salesman or woman yourself, whether you just have entrepreneurial aspirations and you've been thinking you had to have a lot of money to be able to do anything to make money. You don't. You just have to know how to capitalize on other people's assets, on other people's distribution channels, on other people's buyer base. And if you understand that, you can do all kinds of wonderful things.
Wow, that is incredible. And how is that different today? What have you found is the difference in how business is done? Would you say it's still the same for connecting, or is there a difference?
Well, a ton of it's now moved online, but I mean, online, you've got people that have databases, you got people that have websites, you got people that do podcasts. All that are opportunities to partner. You got people that have salespeople. You got people that got different defined types of buyers that could buy other things you could partner with. You've got people that have platforms that you can partner with. You've got lots of different kinds of businesses that have been created that didn't exist when I started. And the good news is the more specialized the type of business, the more what I'll call ancillary opportunity you have. You have to ask yourself, what else would people buy, first of all, before, during, after, or instead of what they buy from a specific company? Because that answer can give you all kinds of other things you could bring to them to sell, or you could bring their product to sell through other companies that sell those answers. You also could say, what else do the buyers of those products buy? That is expanded. And if you ask all those questions, you should get dozens of answers, maybe more. And every one of those answers is a path to prosperity if you wish to take advantage of it.
Should I stay or should I go? What would be the strategic 90-day plan to make that business decision?
Well, I mean, that's a pretty macro question. I think the first thing is, can I leverage other people's assets? I mean, I don't know about today, but in the middle of COVID, radio stations, you're on radio, but they were literally not getting much advertising because their advertising base was functionally closed or weren't operating. And I helped about 500 radio stations do all kinds of collaborations, partnerships with people to sell things and share in the revenue. Today, it may not be the same. Maybe they've all bounced back. I'm not as deeply involved in the radio business as I was a year ago. But the point is that if you have a business, the first thing is, if it's not doing well, can you get anyone else to help you sell your product through or to their audience? Can you get any media to market for you, and instead of speculating on advertising, tie your payment to them on results that are generated and that can be measured? Can you get salespeople to take your product or service to markets that you're not penetrating? Can you get anybody online to sell it to their audience? Can you do anything to get your current or inactive buyers to buy anything else that would monetize for you? Can you add other products or services to what you sell? I mean, can you acquire some other related businesses that you can operate from your facility so that you eliminate a lot of that other business's fixed overhead and can you just buy their buyers and service them? Can you buy their salespeople and have them sell for you? Can you buy their proprietary products and sell them? So there's just a multitude of things. If you ask yourself, the answers frequently, not always, but frequently open up enormous opportunity. And you don't have to have any more money to capitalize on it. You just have to have the vision and the wherewithal to know how to take advantage of that kind of opportunity.
I love that. Now, how about for real estate agents?
Well, real estate agents, the best thing that a real estate agent can do is develop a multitude of methods for generating referrals. It's the best, and most real estate agents get, if they're any good, you know this from your background, they get some portion or maybe the majority or maybe the entirety of their business from referrals or word of mouth. But most of them, frankly, don't have formalized, systematized, meaningfully adhered to referral generating processes, systems, strategies, methods that they follow all the time. So the first thing is you put referral systems in place and you follow them. It will normally, and every time you have any interaction with a client, every time you ever communicate with a past client, you have a systematic way to help them identify people in their lives. Because, the great thing about houses today, you know that. I don't know what it's probably skewed because of COVID, but it was something like every 8 years people move. And now with more dynamism, whether it's divorce, retirement, downsizing, upsizing, kids moving back home, kids moving out, divorces, kids, getting started. There's just such dynamism. So if you have referral systems, almost everybody that knows anybody within the course of, I don't know if it's 3 months or 6 months, will most logically know directly or indirectly of a multitude of people that are either buying or selling for primary residence, secondary residence, or investment. And that opens up a massive possibility, don't you think?
Definitely. And one of the great memories I have is attending your breakthrough events. I'd love for you to share about that process a little bit with the audience, the mastermind breakthrough events.
Yeah, well, before COVID, and we're going to start again. We're going to do a couple of them virtual, but we used to do 3-day events at one of my homes, and we would have 20 or 30 people attend, and they would each pay $25,000 a piece. And in the course of that 3-day process, we would take every individual participant and we would evaluate their business on a number of criteria: their strategy, their business model, their marketing approach, their value proposition, their revenue system, their positioning, their ancillary income strategy, and we would literally transform it in the course of the weekend. And it was pretty powerful, still is. I just haven't done any in the last couple of months. And people would go back to their daytime lives and their businesses, and they would basically apply all the things that came out of it. And probably even more interesting, even though we're working on each company separately, they'd get to watch us work on all the other ones. And typically 90% of the insights or advice we would give to all the others had direct or indirect application to everybody. So if you can imagine this enormously powerful compression chamber that is basically transforming an entrepreneur, business owner, or professional's mindset in real time in a mere 3 days, and totally changing their worldview, their business worldview, and giving them outrageously expanded capability, and changing their marketing, their positioning, their strategy, their value proposition, their everything. That's what we do, and it's pretty powerful. That's one of the things we do.
Yes, it was one of my favorite mastermind events to attend.
Thank you.
So, if you have someone that's had to change careers and they are now just getting started, what would you suggest they do to safely get started in a new industry?
Well, I mean, there's many ways. It depends on urgency and economic need. If you need to move into something that is going to make you an equivalent or a superior income to that which you were making pre-COVID, then you probably need to get a career training, because I don't know that things are going to have that rapidity. If you're not, I would say that you could get control of a business. I mean, we have a friend that's all he teaches, how to buy businesses with no out-of-pocket investment and no real risk, and let them buy themselves. So you can buy a lot of businesses, and if you know marketing and strategy and this kind of partnering concepts I taught, you can turn a marginal business into a profitable one very quickly, and you can certainly operate it for profit, but you probably could do that and flip them for a lot more than the profit they would earn you. In other words, if a business sells for, I don't know, let's say 6 times earnings, and you get control of it for nothing, and then you make it make an extra $100,000, you just made yourself $600,000 if you sell it. And every time you do that, you can do that over and over again. When you learn all the mechanisms that somebody like I teach, you can become a salesperson. People don't understand selling is a wonderful profession, and you can get control of lots of things. Probably the least opportunity is going to be getting a job selling. A better opportunity is going to people that don't even have salespeople and getting the rights to be an external salesperson for them, because you can do lots of things. Many companies only pardon my voice, they only generate their business from one area activity approach. Most of them do not have a sales force, do not have any sales representation. If you go to those companies and say, I would like to buy the rights for external selling, and you do what you keep doing your online stuff, you keep doing your radio advertising. I want to be able to go out into markets, set up partners, call on people and sell your product or service direct, and I want to get a negotiated amount of profit. And you got two things you can do. First is you can figure it out yourself and do it. You don't have to do anything. You can be the equivalent of Tom Sawyer whitewashing the fence. Anybody who knows the Mark Twain story, and you can get other people to do it, and you can make an override. You can take the right that you've just secured and sell it to somebody else, like the guy did the flea market, and make a very nice living setting up accounts that keep buying and selling your stuff over and over again. You can do all kinds of things. You could do it, set it up, then get another deal. When you're independent, you're not tied to anyone. If you work for a company, you are limited to, usually, if they're a good company, they'll give you a salary or a draw, and they'll give you commission. But you're going to normally, if you don't need that money short term, the price you pay for the perception of security is opportunity, meaning if you're going to make most of your money on commission anyhow, working for a company, they're going to give you this much commission. If you go to a company that doesn't have a salesperson, you can say, I want to sell this product and I want half of the profit, because it's all incremental. It's found money you never would have had. And as long as the company you go to has the ability to produce and sell a near infinite amount of product, and there's no real limitations, you should be able to convince them that 50% of profit on sales they never would have had is a heck of a deal. But making 50% means that every sale you would make at 50% is 5 times more profitable to you than working for a company that gives you 10%. And most companies, if your commission, after a while, your draw is gone anyhow. And even if you get it every month, they're not going to give you a huge draw normally, are they?
Right. No.
They're going to give you a little draw. So again, if you have the wherewithal to not worry about the startup mode, I would rather get control of products that I'd have permanent participation on, because you can sell them, you can bring other people in and give them 30% instead of 50. You can do all kinds of things.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, people realize it. I mean, the big problem with most people is they need so much, not just structure, but concreteness, that they don't have the wherewithal to see how to harness and harvest opportunity that exists in other places.
I agree. I remember my house burned down in 2017 in Ventura, the California fires. I lost my house, my car, and even my cat. And my friend said, oh, now that you're living in this little cabin in the hills, maybe you should just go work at the grocery store, get a little part-time job or a full-time job, and get an apartment. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to pay my bills. And 2 months later, I had done all kinds of different things, and working with real estate and different renting places out, different different things, kind of like what you're saying, working with different types of businesses. And I was in my own house and bought another car, and everything was great since. So those friends came back to me and they said, "Wow, Sheila, I didn't know you could do all that." And they said, "We'll never doubt you again in business." So that's just a different mentality that some people have.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, uh, all security really is faith, confidence you have in yourself and your ability to perform. Because ironically, in any job we hold, we're on commission anyhow. The commission may not be earnings, but it's productivity. When we stop producing enough yield to the employer that exceeds by a big enough margin what they pay us, they either want to reduce our pay or get rid of us, don't they?
Exactly.
So if you're on commission anyhow, you might as well get the maximum current and residual outcome or income you can from time and effort. And it requires you to just think differently about your relationship with commerce, because every human being is on commission. You really are. I mean, if you're, no matter what you do, there's a certain metric that you're being judged on all the time. That's your draw, isn't it?
Yes.
And if you don't exceed your draw, you're not going to keep getting it, are you?
Not at all.
No. So I mean, if you think about it, it's no different, except for you can negotiate a lot more residual yield by getting control of things than you'll ever make by working for somebody.
Yes, and I'm wondering, have you ever worked with collaborations between non-profits businesses and for-profit businesses, and what was that like? Did that work out?
Years ago I did, but I haven't done nonprofits. Years ago there were different laws, and the laws allowed nonprofits to pay a large portion of the first donation that people could get in exchange for securing for them new donors who would donate over and over again. So there were a large number of people, and I participated in some of those activities. We would ethically get to keep the first donation. So if we could get you to donate $100, we got to keep it all, because the nonprofit wanted you redonating over and over again and upgrading your donation. I did something one time with a nonprofit where we got people to donate items that then I cash converted for them, and I got I can't remember, it was 20% of the cash. So nonprofit would get their members to donate art, cars, jewelry, and then I organized all the marketing to get the donations, but then I had a contract with the nonprofit to get them fair market cash conversion for all those, and I had I think a 20% of the proceeds I got to retain for doing it.
Nice. So the barter system, do you still use the barter system a lot? It sounds like that might be something.
Yeah, I just did. I just got, it's a little bit arrogant sounding, but a week ago Monday, a truck delivered to me a brand new Acura NSX, if you know what that is. It's sort of like a Ferrari, and it's not quite as expensive, and I did a trade for that. My wife drives a Mercedes G63 wagon that I traded for 2 years ago. I have a Mercedes GTS, which is a very unusual version. It's a sports car that I traded for. I trade my services for all kinds of things. I might be getting a muscle car from somebody else who wants my help. We have all kinds of things in our home. I've traded for art. I have probably, $2 million worth of art. You've been in my house.
Yeah.
All the art in my house I traded for. And I've traded I've set up for companies barter profit centers where they would trade their products or services for other products or services that I would then convert to cash for them. And because the companies I helped had a cost basis that was much lower for the products or services that they provided, we would take the products or services that we received and cash convert them, meaning we would sell them for cash and usually get between 50 and 75% of the market value. But if the products or service we exchanged only cost us 40% of that, we would make 30 or 40% on it. It's a little complicated to understand, but hey, you can trade for your own account. You can trade for profit. Anything that your company would pay, if you have a company and you have any payables, that anything you would do, whether it's advertising, whether it's carpeting, whether it's cleaning, whether it's heating and air conditioning installation or repair, you can trade your products or services for that and reduce your cash costs by whatever your margins are. So there's all kinds of things you can do if you have agility of thinking and understanding relative value.
And I want to read some comments and questions that are coming in for you. Okay, so so I have somebody that says, hello, Shankar. She says, I am a preacher in a charity and help needy people, but now her services are closed. What advice do you have for any religious groups that are trying to get back on track this year?
Can't hold services, then the question is, what products or services, not religious services, but services, can you make available to your congregation that you can monetize so at least you have your finances flowing? How many other ways can you disseminate your good work, whether it's through a maybe a more of a podcast or a Zoom or whatever this the vehicle is. So you can do all of that. Can you go through all your congregation members and see any entrepreneurs there that you can do any of these things for, and help them and use the proceeds you create either to fund your overhead, to fund your lifestyle, or to fund some of these vehicles that'll let you reach your congregation and expanded ones through other vehicles like Zoom or marketing things. You have to realize this: whatever the perceived problem, there's always a solution for it.
Yes, that is so helpful. And let's see here. Another question that's come in is, how can I incorporate my young... Okay, so they have a beauty supply type business, and they also have a window cleaning business. Is there a way that those two can tie together?
No, but they could take the window cleaning business, which is probably mostly labor, and trade it to people that need a lot of window cleaning. Maybe you can go to a car dealership and say, we'll do your windows, and it's normally, you might say maybe it's a $60,000 a year service, and we'll trade you for 2 cars. The dealer is buying the service at a discount because he or she has at least 15% in the cars. You can, if they don't want to trade even, if you as the window cleaning company have a lower cost to fulfill. Let's say your real hard cost on my hypothetical 60,000 is only 20. You could trade abnormally. In other words, you could say, I'll trade $60,000 worth of window cleaning for $40,000 worth of cars. If you got $40,000 worth of cars, you could sell it tomorrow for 30 or 35 because it's under market, and now you'd make right away, you'd get prepaid the $15,000 profit on the $20,000 of cost you have to put out over the rest of the year. So you could do things like that all day long. If you have in your beauty supply business expenses, maybe if you didn't want to stay in your current location, or you did, you could go to the landlord and say, I will provide window cleaning to either the shopping center or each client, however it is, in exchange for reduction or elimination of my rent.
Very helpful. Wow, that was really good. Just see, that's just one industry. That's incredible, Jay. So let's see, another question that of course everybody says they want to invest in you and get your art. Somebody says, let me buy your art. Oh, that's cute. So yeah, so that's something that happens, that being creative is out of a lot of people's comfort zone in business. There's a lot of fear to that. What can make people, I guess, help them to make those first steps, or accept the no's that show up? You're going to ask how many people, I don't know what the percentage is, you have to call so many people in order to actually get a yes in whatever it is. Uh-huh.
I'm looking for one call that I might interrupt you for 1 minute.
Okay.
But say the questioning. Oh, you talked about creativity and rejection. There were two parallel universes. Am I right?
Yes, and actually, when you first start this process of collaborating with different businesses or trying to barter, there's going to be a lot of no's many times before you get to a yes. How do you overcome those no's and keep going? What do you suggest for people just starting to get into this concept?
Let's look at human nature. How many times do people approach you and you say no? It's okay, but most everything is a combination of numbers game and the proposition you're making. Mm-hmm. So I always say, when you're starting out, start out with target audiences that if they reject you, it's not the end of the world. So you don't want to go to the biggest companies. You want to go. So make propositions that are easy theoretically to say yes to. Know that if whatever you're doing has enough economic significance to it, if you are successful, mm-hmm. You don't need very many wins to make it work.
I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I'd like to give a special review and thank you to one of our sponsors for this episode, and that is Hydronique Hydration. This is an electrolyte powder drink packet. Now, this company started in the midst of the pandemic. The founder of Hydronique Hydration, a frontline healthcare worker, started developing constant headaches. Now, a landmark research study published during the pandemic showed that up to 81% of frontline healthcare workers developed new headaches, mainly because of their PPE, personal protective equipment like face masks and face shields, which prevented them from eating and drinking properly while on the job. He would leave work tired, dehydrated, and burnt out. So, the founder looked for a healthy drink with all the necessary vitamins and minerals, but with no sugar, something with keto-friendly and healthy ingredients. But most power drinks on the market have a ton of sugar and or caffeine. That's why he created Hydronique Hydration, the sugar-free, keto-friendly, plant-based, antioxidant-rich electrolyte powder packets for daily use. They contain all the essential vitamins and minerals with a refreshing taste. Their product contains elderberry, which has immune-boosting properties for support during cold and flu season. Hydronique Hydration electrolyte powder packets can also fit in your bag or suitcase when traveling. Remember traveling? We're finally getting back to traveling. So if you have trouble or have been having trouble with eating and drinking healthy during your busy day in 2022, but want a sugar-free, keto-friendly vitamin drink, give Hydronique Hydration a try. There are 30 electrolyte power packs in a pouch, perfect for a 1-month supply. You can visit their website, www.hydroniquehydration.com. That's www.hydronique hydration.com. It's the word hydration and unique mashed together. That's why you can just go to www.hydronique hydration.com or search for Hydronique Hydration on Amazon.com, where they are also offering a $10 discount coupon at checkout. And this is part 1 of our 2-part special feature presentation with Jay Abraham. If you are interested in Jay's products or services, please contact Rob Colasanti at abraham.com. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have a special free gift announcement for you. That's right. Get a free introduction to the Boots formula and meditation by joining our email list for business leaders, busy moms, and rock stars like you. To get your free gift, just go to www.sheilamac.com/free gift. That's right, sheilamac.com/free gift for your gift today.